the singing sea, the talking trees are silent in a noisy way. The stars are bright, but give no light. The world spins backwards every day. Oh, look at that! A rainbow rat, a checkered cat, go tell and tell along the road. The mouse is pleased, the moon is cheese, the sun is shining hot and cold. Golden bird, today I heard, sitting upon a silver branch. His little song was very long, which made me sad and start to let me see. My sister's he, my brother's she, but there is only me in the family. When I grow up, oh, I'll go down the river to that singing sea.
Alright, damn it. Let's do this, man. Let's get this game rolling.
Rock with you, take one.
I feel like my mixer is off again. Yes, it is. Bitch. There we go. Ah. That is wonderful. Okay. Last time on Shin Megami Tensei. Let's see. What the fuck were we doing? Is I leveling up Garuda? Ew. Oh, shit. Might help if I pull the chat back up. There we go. Okay. Alright, so we got Black Frost. We got him back. We got shitty ass Garuda. Such a disappointment. Fucking disappointment, man. Alright. Let's go kick ass. Let's see. Vishnu. Did I still have Gur? Fuck that guy. Oh, hold on. I didn't realize I still had Gur in my party. Alright. Let's go ahead and just get rid of that. Party. Part with Gur. Yes, because he is shit. Alright. And Garuda is only passably better. Oh damn. I never finished up Odin. Amaterasu. You should have been a lot better, Amaterasu. You should have been a lot better. Supporting you. Yeah, man. Oh. There we go. I think it's my Nichi? Yes. Who has my Megalodon? Yes. I gotta make a Utamo to get you to cry. And eventually one with Pierce. Maybe not Pierce. Oh yeah. Hi Pixie. A lady one. Oh, I know. I know what I want to get. Where is she at? Asio. I feel like Lilith would be worth powering up. I need to get Victor Cry on Lilith. I don't know how, but I need to do that. How in the fuck will I do that? So I had to fuse.
カーリンはなんとスーパースーパーアルトプレイヤー、セックスプレイヤーで、 フルートも吹くんだよね。
吹きます。
ね、フルートを吹くと
I think that could work.
あるんですけど、ハウリングやると、
How much does Vishnu and Shiva cost? 98,000? Yep. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go ahead and make her carry over victory cry. And then just get the money back to get Vishnu. We'll put Mikito loan on her. I'll grab him with Sama real quick. Yep. I'll just... drop a quick Mikito loan on her. Nope. 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 There we go. Go ahead and register. And we can use her to make elements. Megami's confused with each other. Yep. At least I think they can. Oh, let's see. And no, they can't. My God. Oh shit. I need to find out what they're confused with. Regardless. Alright, part with Izume. For now, we'll just rock some Dante action. Gotta get Vishnu back. Ugh. That's gonna suck. Yep. She looks so damn awesome, bro. Please don't all run away from me. Rikugel! Nigidola. Magatama was I working on? Guess I'm working on this one. Okay, Murakamo. Nice. Right, Google. Getting that money up. Getting that money up. I need to heal. Yeah. I need to heal myself. I need them heals bad. Oh yeah. There we go. Let's see. Hold phone. Just keep sending them. Keep sending them. I keep knocking them down. Alright. Yes, I loved MTV in the 90s. So good. So damn good. Alright. Provoke! Rare? There we go. Wow, she is tiny. Compared to, well, Shiva, anyway, who is fucking gigantic. You know what to do, Xevious. Kill him. Rage. Stinger. Love that move so much. So much. There we go. You gotta get Vishnu back, man. You gotta get Vishnu back. Showtime. That's right. Counts as a flame attack. Forgot. Start use fire elemental. That's totally a thing. More. Vishnu will be back. I will be right in my party again. It's lethal strange without the two of them. Bucket. Yeah, rage.
Amis, entends-tu le vol noir des corbeaux sur nos plaines? Amis, entends-tu le chant lourd du pays qu'on enchaîne? Oh, et partisans, ouvriers et paysans, à vos armes. Ce soir, l'ennemi connaîtra le prix du sang et des larmes. Montez de la mine, descendez des collines, camarades. Sortez de la paille, les fusils à mitraille.
Come on, money. I need Vishnu back. And then we're gonna scale the tower. Nothing's grinding. In this shit.
Saboteur, attention à ton fardeau, dynamite. C'est nous qui brisons les barreaux des prisons pour nos frères.
Got most of the demons I wanted anyway. Shiva, Vishnu, Beelzebub, Trifrost, Dante, Yaska, of course. Isaka, I mean. No, that's really all we need. Me, the Demi Fiend. We don't need anyone else.
Un ami sort de l'ombre à ta place. Comme du sang noir séchera au grand soleil sur les routes. Les compagnons, dans la nuit, la liberté vous écoute.
Axis crit. No, just a lot of damn damage. That'll work. Round trip. Force repel. That'll be useful. Sure. Alright, let's try that another
E
time.
adesso andiamo avanti con Rosalia de
Albion.
Souza.
And Uber Case. That's a squad, man. That's a fucking squad. Ooh, good. Good, yeah. Just get Vishnu back, and that's a wrap. Me, Dante, and the Indian twins, we're gonna put in some work. Maybe not Dante, I'll just put him on the back burner. He doesn't need the experience. He's already a beast. I do miss Vishnu though, man. I miss his yellow Pac-Man colored skin.
Impazzisco per seguirti con la mente, sia di notte che di giorno, io ti vedo in ogni volto della gente, vita mia, dentro il viso, mi ritrovo a sorridere a te, e mi vedo in ogni cosa più dolente, ho stampato l'allegria dentro me.
I didn't even remember he had that.
La follia mi accompagna di ventura, ma ti sono grato infinitamente.
Got Black Frost to heal people. Ah, finally, Dante. That level up bonus. Come on. About 30,000 more. I'll have enough to get Vishnu back on the squad. Squidard. listen to Stinger. Yes, winning. There we go. Some live audio wrestling, huh?
SmackDown. I am John Pollock along with Waiting. Wait, the question is, what happened to me? Period. It was an awful day. Oh, wow. I left here Monday night, and I told you that my throat was starting to act up, and I felt I was coming down with something. So Wei took the burden of editing and posting the Raw show Monday night off of my plate, which, thank you very much. Well, you do it every week. I could do it for at least 1 week. Yeah, but you have a long drive ahead of you. It's not that long on Monday night. Well, it was greatly appreciated because I don't know if I would have gotten the show up on Monday night because I went home at about 1 a.m. after this show. I ate something quick, which is part of this story, and then went to sleep. But it was one of those awful sleeps where you're feeling progressively more ill throughout the night, and then I woke up and you felt it while sick, and it's just getting worse. You're conscious while you're sleeping. I was aware of my throat status throughout all hours of sleep, and then I woke up and it was like there was fire going down my throat. It just felt awful. So I'm a mess throughout the morning from this, and I'm just trying to, I'm in bed, and then my throat started to clear up, but then it moved up. Oh yeah, that's how it always happens. Yes, but it wasn't so much a cold I had yesterday, it turned into a full-on migraine, which is awful. I get like 2 or 3 of these a year, and I'm crippled from these migraines. It's just the worst. And I was gone the entire day. I was in bed the entire day. I didn't do anything. I had to skip my baseball game on Tuesday night. I had to cancel an interview that I was scheduled to do, which was really annoying. And then I finally woke up at 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and I had not eaten in 26 hours. And I ate a piece of breadway, and it was like the greatest thing I've ever had in my life. Man. Tuesday was the worst. You couldn't even eat while you were sick? I was throwing up. It was really bad. Jesus. So I had an awful time on Tuesday, and I had to just will myself at about 10 p.m. last night to get to the couch to sit down and watch this show, which, believe me, had this been a bad episode of SmackDown, I was considering asking, Wei, how are your skills of talking to yourself for an hour? Because I don't know if I could have gotten through this show, but I did, Wei. I did. Well, thank you. Appreciate that very much. I had no idea you were that sick. Oh, but by the end of this all, I felt like Vince McMahon. Damn, that's what I felt like. So we're going to get into things, but that was my Tuesday, so I apologize if my voice doesn't sound great today. I'm doing my absolute best. It's alright. I'm a little bit under the weather too, but nowhere near. I hope you didn't catch anything from me. I feel like I was already sick. I think there's a lot of sickness going on right now with the weather changes and whatnot. I'm not down with it. Oh, yes. That's a very old reference. That's a Disturbed joke. New metal joke. Ha, nice. That's old metal now. Right? When do you graduate out of new metal? Well, this is new with a U and U. I know. So it'll be new forever. Okay. Because it's different. Yeah. We'll time code this, by the way. Wei, what did you think about Sin City being used prominently throughout this episode? I don't think Las mentioned Sin City instead of Vegas. I think Renee said Las Vegas at one point.
There's more alliteration with Sin City.
Sin City SmackDown Live.
Yeah.
So that works, I guess. I just watch these WWE broadcasts and I'm always assuming, like, what went into the thinking here? And if you notice on the show, throughout the entire thing, Vince McMahon was never referred to. It was always Mr. McMahon. Yeah. And then it led to Kevin Owens saying, "You don't mind if I call you Vince, do I?"
Yeah. The character is Mr. McMahon.
Yes. But as explained on the show, that can mean multiple people. Yeah. There are multiple Mr. McMahons now on the show.
Right.
All right, I'm just trying to make a little interplay here, Wade, and you don't want to have any of it.
Because I don't know if there's much argument to be had.
Not an argument, an observation.
Not even that much discussion to be had. They decided to call it Sin City SmackDown as a way to brand their Las Vegas show.
Okay, well, this is Sin City Review of SmackDown Live.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We could do that.
From Las Vegas on Tuesday night. Kicked off with Kevin Owens. Came out, and he blamed Shane McMahon as the reason he is suing everyone in WWE. Everybody. This is a reverse class action lawsuit. This is one person suing everybody. Oh. He says he will sue them until there is no more SmackDown Live. It will be replaced by the Kevin Owens show. Some people will get fired, and the first will be Sami Zayn. And then he looks over at Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton and says one of his changes will be that the two of them are going to have to wear the same suit. But he doesn't mean identical suits. He means no. One suit shared by two men, because if you sound the same on TV, you may as well be one person. So funny.
Yeah, it was
a very funny line.
He's funny.
He says, the Fashion Files, canceled. Yeah, I don't get it. He was awesome.
Yeah,
he was just tremendous.
He's great.
He was tremendous throughout this entire show.
At the end of this, I really wanted to see him actually take over the show.
Oh yeah,
at least for a week.
This would be way better than the 1 week the NWO took over Nitro. Yeah, I think a Kevin Owens show would be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So then Shane's music plays as he calls out Mr. McMahon, but instead of Shane, it's Dolph Ziggler. And Owens laughs. Dolph says he's just trying out a new entrance. And that was that.
Yeah, I thought it was a good use of the Dolph Ziggler gimmick that he's got going on right now. Probably his best use in this entire show.
And then Daniel Bryan came out. And Bryan says he is running the show tonight. Owen says when he takes over, he's going to make Daniel Bryan a janitor. And Bryan says that Owens could try some hard work and manual labor, as he points to his belly. And that Mr. McMahon will be here soon. And he's not going to like what Mr. McMahon has to say. And that was our opening segment, and the thread throughout this entire show was Kevin Owens, who was in multiple segments throughout the show. He was the star of this show, and kicked off the show very effectively. Like, this guy felt like the biggest star on this show throughout.
Oh, 100%, and certainly by the end of it too. You know, even though Jinder has the title, really it's Kevin Owens who's the lead villain.
I don't think there's any question after this show.
I thought this was a very entertaining opening segment. I even thought Dolph was used to good effect. And I thought last week's segment was done really well too. Escalated wonderfully
to Shane and Kevin Owens fight.
Yeah. And the man just carried it here, and I expect next week and the week a lot more of
this. Kevin Owens Shane McMahon feud is the best part of WWE television at the moment for me. I think it's been really, really well done. Our first title match of the show was AJ Styles against Ty Dillinger, where the announcers explained that AJ Styles' open challenge was created for one man. Which I think we really need to consider a rebranding then of this challenge.
So who was it created for?
They explained it was essentially created for Ty Dillinger.
What?
Well, that's what the announcers stated.
What is that?
That's what Styles had said last week. The fact that this open challenge they said it was designed for one man.
And he said it was designed for Ty Dillinger?
That was the conclusion made here. Let's not put too much thought into it. Styles hit this running powerbomb out of the corner. Both were down. Styles called for the phenomenal forearm as Corbin ran down, got knocked off the apron, and then Dillinger got a roll-up for a 2 count, blocked the Styles clash, and then caught AJ with the tiebreaker for a near fall, which Tom Phillips immediately noted that he usually takes his padding off of his knee for the maximum effect and didn't get a chance to do that, and thus AJ lived. And then Styles rolled out of the corner into a calf crusher, got the tap, and Dillinger was limping as the two shook hands. times after the match.
Yeah, I think Ty plays like this great Rudy-like character, you know, like the guy who shouldn't have made it, will probably never be world champion, but he's gotten here through a lot of hard work and persistence, and the crowd sees him like that way. So I thought leading up to this, everything was great. I kind of feel like this match should have gone a little bit longer, though. I think you wanted to establish the same type of underdog story as you had with the Jason Jordan matches on Raw, and I think Ty wasn't necessarily booked impressive enough here to gain anything from this loss.
This was no 48-second classic. These two have very good chemistry together. You're right, it could have used a couple extra minutes, maybe shelve that tag match that they just threw on near the end of the show. That was kind of pointless. So afterwards, Corbin is still there. He attacks both men, including an end of days to AJ on the floor. And next week, AJ's open challenge will be against him. So once again, a very much a closed challenge as we set up our title match for next week. And I don't know if these two are going to extend this to Hell in a Cell. I figure they will.
I would think so.
But
unless Dillinger gets involved, make it a three-way. Yeah, but
Go ahead and save, and then we head to the next boss.
Involvement with AJ is just doing nothing for me.
It's kind of being dragged on, you know. These three. Who else do you pair AJ with? I guess Orton, but
Orton looks to be back with Rusev.
Oh yeah,
based on tonight's promo. Then we had the Dasha 2000 bot, who said,
"Oh, she's so robotic."
Sin City SmackDown is definitely living up to its name. Now please welcome my guest, Rusev.
She's just like devoid of life.
Holy Christ.
You look in her eyes.
I had to rewind this. Like, this honestly sounded like an automated voice message.
I think it's what makes, like, Renee so good, you know, is the fact that she seems to be a real person behind.
She puts some inflection in her words.
Well, I don't even know how much it is, like, I think Renee probably naturally exudes that personality. Whereas, like, somebody like Dasha, I don't know if they're just overcoaching her. You know, maybe this would have been, like, the 10th take of her doing something like this, but it's just, like, soulless. Completely. It's almost, like, impressive how soulless she looks.
Yeah, this was...
Nice.
I had to rewind it. It was just so stunningly monotone. I thought I had just won a vacation on my phone. Rusev recently traveled home to Bulgaria, he says. Called SummerSlam the most embarrassing moment in his career and his life. He wasn't greeted at home with open arms, instead with shame. They expected him to come home a winner, and instead he came home a loser. Rusev is not a loser, he states. He knows what he has to do to regain that killer instinct. He must break a legend. So either he's going after Randy Orton, or he's gonna...
Isn't that... I mean, don't you think he would have said Randy Orton? And I also don't necessarily think of Randy Orton as a legend.
He's graduated from legend killer to legend.
I suppose so, but I just took this more to mean that Rusev would be attacking somebody like an old timer, you know,
who's a legend that they could have on standby.
I mean, Jerry Lawler was there last week. He's probably not going to show up again, but it could be anybody.
Sergeant Slaughter,
sure,
the American.
Yeah. Like somebody who would be actually classified in a Legends contract.
All right. Well, there's many options then.
Yeah.
Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers came out. There was even a light Maharaja chant. They showed a photo. Way's favorite segment, though. This was not Photoshop. This was just actual photos of Nakamura.
I guess just funny stills.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first one was Nakamura during his entrance that the Singhs and Mahal laughed at, stating instead of motivation, what they see is constipation. It's like, oh God, where are we going here? He said, Nakamura doesn't know the most important question in the English language. Where is the bathroom? Which was where this segment was heading. Then they show another photo of him during a match that Jinder says, this is what it's like when he listens to Michael Jackson and pondering what he will rip off next, as the Singhs mocked his entrance holding the rope. And then they showed a photo of Nakamura puckering his lips, and Mahal then calls out the audience for laughing. You just proved my point about all of you people. All I'm doing is saying things that you, the audience, has already thought. And says how people will say that you look different, Nakamura. Your eyes are different. Your skin is different. And sometimes you look like Pikachu having a seizure, which again the Sings acted out with the hands. And then he ended the segment by pretty much calling the audience on their racism by using his own veiled racism and left. And Corey Graves said, maybe Jinder went a little too far during this segment.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the heck to make of this way.
I thought this was some of Jinder's strongest work to date. I mean, and I know that's not saying much, but first of all, simply the idea that there was way more depth to something like this than his typical promo where he comes out, the same promo he cut every single week in that feud with Randy Orton. Here, I was wondering how they would do this Jinder Nakamura feud, being that Nakamura is not American and Jinder's whole shtick up until this point has been criticizing the Americans, but I think they found a way with him that's somewhat interesting here, and that's with him kind of maybe being racist, being ironically racist, you know, even though he's been the one complaining about racism, but also using it to tell Nakamura that you don't want this championship because you will be subject to this crazy amount of racism that I've been subjected to. I find that
Which, if you're Nakamura, this audience kind of backed up Jinder's statement here. They laughed at these jokes.
I mean,
he called them sheep, essentially saying if we tell them to chant USA, they will. And they did.
If anybody makes fun of anybody, and if it's funny to make, like, if you're making a joke about somebody, you're gonna laugh even if you like that person. Doesn't mean the audience is racist, right? And in fact, like, when Nakamura comes out here, they cheer him, and it's, you know, it's, if of anybody on the roster, I think the approval of Nakamura by the mass audience proves that there's, you know, no racism, at least when it relates to his character. So I think they're starting to pick at something that could be potentially really interesting with this feud. And I thought it was a really nice change of pace from your typical Jinder promo.
This felt like a sociology lesson.
As it should be. That's really the point of this character, right? You know? It's pointing out racism in America.
Yeah, so it's at times it's kind of hard to present Jinder Mahal as a heel.
Yeah, but I think he's going overboard though. You know, like he's exaggerating how racist the audience is when I don't think the audience is really proving to be racist.
That Indian celebration with the national anthem, that was that was the bar being set pretty low for the audience and its expectations of inclusiveness. Anyway, I thought the Sings were pretty hilarious here too.
Yeah.
Just acting out everything and just playing off of Jinder Mahal. I think they had a lot by just by filling him out. Yeah, it's like everything he says, it's like these are his disciples.
Yeah. It's like in a rap battle where you have like people with their entourages that are just pretty much there to like go, oh, like just to sell, you know, like the lines.
The Maharantaraj. No. Kevin Owens is backstage with a PA going over all the changes he wants, including a new show open, and he wants 2 limos. One for him and one for his friend Jimmy. And he wants a new entrance video. He walks over and Sami Zayn is just standing there in his gear. Never explained why. And he brings up a time when the two of them were driving in Ohio in a blizzard, and they made a promise during that blizzard that one day they would both make it to the WWE so they'd never have to go through this again. Because I guess once you make it to WWE, weather problems and car issues disappear.
He was also talking about wrestling in armories. But you're right.
That wouldn't stop the blizzard from happening if you were in the Nationwide Arena in Columbus and still having to drive through a blizzard.
I guess it's really true.
I wish I was in the back seat. I would have informed them on just how weather works.
Maybe the insinuation is that once you're making WWE money, you can like travel, like you can fly, you know, or you can travel in cars that are resistant to really bad weather.
I would have told Kevin, it's like, remember that Raw the night after the Rumble? There was a really bad snowstorm and there was nothing any of the talent could do to get to that arena. So, logic aside,
they're just trying to paint a picture of like, you know, a tough indie wrestling life.
He says that here he is all these years later about to run WWE, and Sami Zayn is almost out of a job. So he's giving Sami permission to break their promise when the armories start calling again and he can go back. And Zayn says, I would rather wrestle in armories than work for you. Which, I would wonder if the real Sami Zayn would rather be in armories these days than his current positioning. I wonder what the answer would be. Because he could make a lot of money in some of these armories and some larger venues.
I would be wondering that myself.
Yeah. And that was our lone Sami Zayn appearance on the show. Street fight time. The Usos and the New Day. Xavier Woods walked out with the New Day, but then went to the back. They showed highlights of the SummerSlam kickoff match, which I thought was a good idea. And then the match began, and there was a table set up on the floor immediately. They go to break after Big E has run into the post. They were super kicked Big E, and then this was while he was holding a chair. They got a 2 count. And Corey is wondering the whereabouts of Kofi Kingston. And then all of a sudden, Kofi's head popped up. He was right next to their announce table. And Big E then attacked them with the kendo stick. He gets tied up in the ropes. Kingston returns, fights off the Usos. Then Jay dives into the corner, crashes down to the floor, and lands badly. Kofi uses a chair, tosses it to Jimmy, and hits a double foot stomp off the turnbuckle. Then Kofi whips a chair at Jay from the ring. He goes for the trust fall, but is caught and run into the barricade. Big E fires up on the floor, hits a pair of Uranagis inside of the ring, and then Jimmy hits a super kick, gets caught with the big ending. Jay makes the save, pair of super kicks, and they climb opposite corners, setting up for the double oos. When Kofi shoves Jay off the top through a table on the floor, Kofi kicks Jimmy from the apron, and then hit this gigantic big ending where Kofi flew off the turnbuckle, hit Jimmy with the big ending, and they won the tag titles.
Yeah, the Midnight Hour.
The Midnight Hour, you're right.
I thought a really great match. It was different enough from the one they had on the kickoff. So, I'll say like as an actual wrestling match, the kickoff one was probably better. But this was different enough. It was a hardcore match to have it so that it complemented the other really well. And they went at each other really hard. Like they broke a kendo stick on each other, and it maintained a great pace and a great energy throughout the entire thing. And I found the crowd with it the whole way through.
Yeah, these two teams have had some great matches this summer, and this I would add to that collection. Very good stuff, and I guess this means an automatic rematch.
Yeah, I guess so. Trilogy. The trilogy that
well, this would be the 4th match because they did the Battleground event where they were the one highlight of that show, and then SummerSlam, and now this one. So it'll be a 4th match, presumably at Hell in a Cell. Which what do you do now to top all this?
I don't know.
You've done a street fight.
You can do Hell in a Cell.
At that point, what are we talking about? 3 Hell in a Cells?
What's the other one?
I figure Nakamura and Mahal will have a Hell in a Cell.
Oh man. I'm still trying to think of that. What that would look like.
Unless you're just going to go with one, and Owens and Shane goes on last, which it could.
I feel like a tag team Hell in a Cell would be... I'd prefer that over a Nakamura Jinder Hell in a Cell. Just because of the tag team dynamic, and also because of these... It would be the 4th match of these teams. But yeah, I'm not sure what else you could do. Maybe a ladder match.
I guess.
Yeah.
Brian is backstage with a PA, and then we got our highlights of the red carpet special. I didn't watch any of this, but Awesome Kong made it. She was there on the red carpet.
She was tagged as
Kia Stevens.
Cast of Glow.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Aspiring actress.
So she was there. Kate Nash was there. And
it's just the
2 other ones that I think were a little less notable.
Yeah. Ronda Rousey was there with Hunter and Stephanie. So a bunch of people showing. Then we were showing some celebrities. Some influencers.
That's the new hot media term I've come to learn.
Yeah.
Influencers.
I don't know how you pronounce her first name. Inanna Sarkis, YouTube influencer.
Influencer, yeah.
Well, she didn't really influence this crowd to react to her.
No.
And she looked kind of miserable to be there.
She was playing a character.
Oh, okay.
She's playing this wrestling character. I actually did a bit of research. I know very little about like kind of like PewDiePie and all these like people that are actually like some of the most famous people in America right now. Like this woman has 1.5 million subscribers on her own. Oh, so there are people that I think kind of
special,
really
like ribbon or something for that many subscribers.
I'm sure you get a plaque of some sort, a gold or diamond plaque sent to you from YouTube. The Fight Network just the Fight Network just received $100,000. Or sorry, 100,000.
Get $100,000.
We should have gotten 100,000 subscriber plaque.
Oh, wow. So
did you know that?
Does that mean I'm an influencer?
I would say so. I would certainly call John Pollock a pro wrestling media influencer.
Well, maybe that should be my title instead of reporter. Maybe I can be a pro wrestling influencer.
Sure. That's what I'll call you from now on.
Then we cut to Ronda Rousey, who Corey said, well, you definitely recognize this woman. Yeah. And she got an enormous reaction in comparison to the influencer. Yeah. Natalya and Naomi are already in the ring for the introductions by Greg Hamilton. And Carmella was on commentary with James Ellsworth, who was attached with a leash.
Like a collar.
So they're full going into this dominatrix deal.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Maybe we'll see a riding crop introduced. That Carmella?
What's that?
Those whips?
Oh, that's what they're called?
A riding crop.
A riding crop.
Go Google that.
Oh.
We also had the Glow women, including Kong, Medusa, and Dana Warrior, shown behind the announcers, but not really, there was no attention called to them. They were just visible.
Not until the Mae Classic.
Yeah. Naomi attacked with kicks, hit a slingshot leg drop over the top with Natalya draped on the second rope. Then Naomi kicked Natalya to the floor, and Carmella got in her face. Naomi hit a springboard crossbody, taking out Carmella and Ellsworth, but then Natalya rams her into the post, applies the sharpshooter in the ring as she stares down Carmella, and Naomi taps out.
Yeah, I actually quite enjoy watching Naomi in the ring at this point. I think she's developed enough confidence and an exciting set of moves that she doesn't kind of screw up a lot anymore. She'll do a lot of kind of flippy shit, but like it looks good. It looks good up until this point. So
a lot of flippy shit.
Yeah, like RVD flippy shit, you know. And I think she does it well enough now that I think her matches are entertaining because of her moveset. She's got this like new kick where she dodges a punch from her opponent by ducking.
This is where she leans over and
by ducking down and then kicking her opponent with her extended legs heel.
Should be easy to screw up the timing on.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I've seen anyone. I personally never seen anyone else do that before. Maybe somebody has, but I'm not sure. But I think it looks really cool. So good for her. Somebody on Reddit I saw post that this suggestion that November is coming up. We have a heart with the world title. Do they keep this title switch all the way up until Survivor Series?
Oh God! If she loses it through nefarious means at Survivor Series, I pray to God they will.
Kind of right.
I guess it's 20 years since Montreal. We're still fixated on it. How ridiculous is that?
Well, it is one of the more well-known events to. I mean,
imagine at the 97 Survivor Series in Montreal that they thought, let's redo that finish from 1977. When everyone is still aware of it.
But if there was something, yeah, I mean, it would be really sad. But there's also nothing that anybody is aware of from 1977 to the level of, the Screwjob.
I would argue a huge amount of the audience either doesn't care or I'm sure there's a big part of the audience that has no idea what Montreal is.
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're right.
I hate that you've brought up this idea as even a possibility, so
I didn't bring it up.
Hopefully it won't happen. Aiden English is just hanging out in the locker room by himself singing. Kevin Owens walks in and he needs someone to sing the lyrics for the Kevin Owens show, and that English would be the perfect candidate, so he does his rendition for the Kevin Owens show opening.
If they ever do a one-night only thing, they need to make a Aiden English.
I hope one day Kevin Owens has a podcast so that this can be the introduction.
He used to have a show.
Yes, well, if he ever does in the future and has the rights to the Kevin Owens name, this would be great.
Cool.
I guess it's an easy swap if he has to go back to Steven Steen show. Dolph Ziggler is back. Comes out. He says he shouldn't need elaborate entrances for the audience's love, but they only associate stars with elaborate entrances. So he goes to the back and returns as Bailey, complete with the inflatable Bailey buddies that he knocks, and they all just crumple down and die. He says eventually the bell has to ring and the star has to compete, and he's sick of someone that can't hold a candle to him into the ring and yet is idolized. So he goes to the back and returns as the Ultimate Warrior, who I don't think he's building a program with.
Oh, in front of Dana Warrior too.
Well, this was weird because this was begging for a reaction shot after we had all just seen Dana Warrior.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. There was no mention of her. There was no reaction from her. It's almost like, why did you even show her in the front row when in the next segment you were going to have a guy just insult her dead husband? This felt so out of place.
Well, I think the whole gimmick really sucks. I mean, is this what we've come to? Is like Dolph Ziggler playing like a creator wrestler and doing other people's entrances? I thought the Shane thing was well timed earlier in the show, but otherwise, I just feel like this is a shitty mid-card gimmick that 3 weeks in is already not going anywhere.
He says anyone can do what he just did, but no one can do what I do in the ring, and fans couldn't care less, and he couldn't care less about them. And he departed.
Who do you think he should come out as? What entrance would you like to see him do next?
I can't say there's one entrance I'm looking forward to him doing. I've gotten the point. These aren't all that entertaining.
Let me try to think. Maybe like,
For what it's worth, I thought Charlie Haas was way more entertaining doing this same gimmick 10 years ago.
Right.
And even Damian Sandow, I think they had the mannerisms down so much better. That
True.
Dolph isn't even all that, like he doesn't even mimic them all that well to where it's entertaining. It's like he does like these crappy impersonations of these entrances, and it's just...
I think the idea is that he's coming out there and, you know, hopefully getting the audience to cheer because of the songs and because of everything. And also, he's trying to, like, flip it so that he's serious by the end of it, but to maintain credibility, I suppose. But I think none of it is really working.
Think about this legitimately.
Yeah.
If you were Dolph Ziggler and this was your real motivation for Tuesday night's episode of SmackDown and you wanted to impersonate Bayley's entrance, think of how much work that took for Dolph Ziggler to coordinate the entrance, get all those inflatable things, get the music, because this is SmackDown.
Yes.
Why would they have her theme just on track 35?
He really wanted to make a point.
I mean, man, why don't you spend some time actually coming up with an entrance that you admit would get you over? You just said anyone can do this. Just come up with an entrance then. Yeah. You're so smart. What are you complaining about? You're boring? Are you admitting you're boring?
I think I'm just disappointed that he was away for so many weeks, presumably to work on this, you know, and this is what we have this is what he has to show for.
Of all people, too, like, this guy was the show off.
Yeah.
That was his gimmick.
Right.
He showed off.
Yeah.
Which now he is stating is just poison to your career.
I suppose he meant he was showing off by being so good in the ring.
Like, is his entrance all that different from these others? He'd come out, he'd shake his ass. Like, he had an entrance just like everybody else.
Except it wasn't memorable, really. It's not like when you say Dolph Ziggler entrance, I don't think of anything. Not like the Ultimate Warrior or even Bayley. He should come out with do the Finn Balor thing next week.
Sure.
Or Bray.
Great.
You know?
So we had the Hype Brothers against Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. Ryder landed a missile dropkick on Benjamin and then ran into a spine buster. Benjamin hoisted up Ryder, and Gable had to stretch in order to make this tag, and it came off the top, taking down Ryder, and Benjamin pinned him in 226. Gable got the pin. After, Mojo shook both men's hands, but Ryder just walked off.
Yeah, so I guess we're finally getting that breakup after they abandoned it.
Yeah, after the hype had been lost.
Hey, before that match, they aired a Did You Know, and this Did You Know listed, I guess speaking of YouTube from earlier, that WWE is the #2 YouTube channel
in the world.
In the world. In
behind YouTube? Who's number one?
Well, so normally I would call bullshit on a stat like this because I know for a fact that they don't have more subscribers than many people, many individual YouTubers.
Do they have as much as our YouTube influencer?
Good question.
I'm sure they do.
I don't know if they do.
You said 1.5 million? I would think the WWE has quite a lot more.
Oh yeah, they do. They got 17 million.
Okay, so they're really much more influential.
Let me see Inanna Sarkis. What's her how many people does she have? Okay. Yeah, anyway, 1.5. So normally I call bullshit on WWE being the number 2 YouTube channel, but they specified that it is based on number of views. And I actually looked this up on Social Blade, and they are in fact actually the channel with the second most views of any channel on YouTube, including PewDiePie. So they beat PewDiePie.
Wow.
And Justin Bieber. So we're not talking about subs, we're talking about total views. And I think that's really impressive, and perhaps it's really the one metric you can make an argument for them going with this Jinder Mahal push. Because, number one, the only channel to beat the WWE is an Indian music label.
So I thought it was going to be those guys who recreate the matches.
No, it's not those guys.
The real influencers.
It's an Indian music label, so I have no doubt that, the Mahal push has really certainly added a lot to their YouTube numbers, their social media numbers, whatever. And maybe it's an argument for it, simply for that metric, which is actually, I'm sure, a very attractive metric to advertisers. Do you know where the law ranks?
3.
We are the 580,084th most viewed YouTube channel in the world.
580,000.
So we're close.
Yeah, we'll make some inroads.
Yeah.
Maybe we need an Indian host.
Oh, do you know anyone?
My friend Paul. Maybe we'll bring him in as a test subject and see how that show does.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon is shown with Daniel Bryan backstage to confirm he's here. And then Kevin Owens comes out for the final segment. He waits for Vince, Mr. McMahon, to come out, who got a very big reaction. And the announcers kept repeating, this is the first time in 4 years Vince has shown up on SmackDown. That's quite the hiatus from the B show. Owens immediately calls him Vince, asking, you don't mind if I call you Vince, do I? And says that Vince looks intimidated. Vince says no, he's nauseated. Vince says that Owens didn't fight back last week because Shane was beating his ass, not because he respects authority. And then he chose to sue. So Vince says that he will fire Kevin Owens if he files a lawsuit. Vince says, I have never lost one lawsuit. Which, I was not the only one to think of this joke, but others did as well. The fact that this was being said on WWE SmackDown, and not WWF SmackDown. And he will bankrupt Owens if he sues him. He suspended Shane, not because of him attacking Owens, but for him not finishing the job and ripping out Kevin Owens' liver and putting his bowels on the floor. Owens got what he deserved for the comments he made about Shane and Vince's family, and says he will reinstate Shane because there will not be a lawsuit. Instead, there's going to be a match. Owens versus Shane in a Hell in a Cell. Imagine if the legal system worked like this. The guy being threatened to sue said, no, I will fire you if I get sued, and instead you'll have a match.
That's what makes wrestling so interesting, I guess.
So were we to be led to believe that Owens was just worried about his personal finances and didn't want to get sued? He thought, man, look what CM Punk's going through with Chris Amon, and do I really want to get sucked in court for years?
I would say so. Yeah. I thought Vince was great here. I forgot what a great performer he was.
So he makes the Hell in a Cell. Owens wants Vince's word that he won't fire Kevin Owens after he beats Shane senseless.
No. After he beats a McMahon senseless in the ring.
Oh, is that what he said?
Those are the specific words.
Ah,
Oh, well, that's key then for this. Because he shakes hands with Vince and starts squeezing on the hand and then headbutts him right on the forehead.
And this was not a protected headbutt.
No, this was
pretty...
This was Shibata Okada. Not as hard, but equally as stupid.
On a 72-year-old man
who's probably had some undocumented concussions in his history because this guy got walloped with chair shots back in his heyday.
Yeah, and
this was utterly irresponsible to do the spot.
Completely on the part, I would say, of Vince McMahon, because I would have to imagine Kevin Owens probably might have been a little bit hesitant before headbutting a 72-year-old man who is his boss, who is Vince McMahon, in the ring. And I'm sure it took a lot of convincing for Vince to say, okay, do this, go full force, don't protect it. So, Vince is fucking crazy, and I would say highly irresponsible, given the position that he's in, for all the
given the lawsuit that you have, that if 20 years from now, a bunch of wrestlers were, after you have had a wrestler that has not been cleared to return because of potential risk, and then you show segments like this, stuff with Brock caving in Orton's head last year.
Seriously, how do you think
how irresponsible do you have to be to do a segment like this, a spot like this, given the environment that you're in?
So, I have to wonder what somebody Brian legitimately thinks after seeing this, knowing that they're going to be so careful with him, yet and also somebody like a Jerry Lawler, people who are younger than Vince and not allowed to wrestle. Meanwhile, this man goes out there and lets his top heel headbutt him in the head full force. And it's not just Vince taking the damage. For those that don't remember, Shibata was delivering the headbutt. He wasn't receiving it. So there's equal damage. Or in some cases, it's the guy delivering it that got the worst end of it. I just thought this was... I was just completely shocked that they did this. Me too. And I wonder...
It's hard to be honest, the headbutt was kind of an afterthought by the end of the segment because they did so much after the headbutt.
But
it could have been done without it easily.
But in the day after, I think you're right. They didn't have to do it, or it could have simply been a protected headbutt, and I think you would have still had
the Jack Gallagher headbutt. They could have done
totally. But the day after, we're all talking about that headbutt, aren't we? Not to justify it
for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons, yeah. I think, man, and the idea that it drew blood. I don't know if they could have banked on that, but it was also interesting seeing that they really let this blood go. Whereas I feel like in many other instances they would have stopped it. They would have had at least medics try to patch the thing up. They would cut away. Here, the camera was right on Vince, close-ups all the way through.
We're going to continue our physicality angle as this went on.
It just sets a bad precedent and sets a bad example.
No, it says there's a totally different set of rules for your key angles. For Vince with Brock and Randy Orton, and here in this segment, how can you? Yeah, it was just stupid. It was so stupid to do this. So Vince is laid out. He's bleeding from the forehead. Vince tries to fight back and looked really out of place, trying to throw punches, and
he's unconscious.
I guess he played a concussed victim very well. He got kicked in the ribs by Owens, got hit with a super kick. Then Owens tosses the referee away, goes to the top rope as Adam Pearce runs in and is screaming at Kevin Owens, trying to shield Vince. But then Owens goes for it anyway, and Pearce just got out of the way, and Vince took a frog splash. And paramedics are out. They're checking on Vince. Stephanie made her return to television for the first time since WrestleMania to assist Vince to the back as he's complaining about his ribs.
Well, I mean, if you don't count the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, I don't. So, anyway, on a Raw or SmackDown.
Speaking of which, Triple H was also in the back, too, because he would later come up for the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, well, he wasn't as concerned, I guess.
I suppose it's not canon.
And that was the show. Aside from the headbutt, well, this was a phenomenal angle.
It was phenomenal, maybe. I mean, the headbutt happened, and I think it was amazing.
Fuck.
Partially because of that headbutt. So I could say it was really irresponsible. I could say I wish they didn't do it. But I can't say that I wasn't more excited after it happened. You know what I mean? I thought something like this just took that feud to a whole nother level. It might as well have made it one of the top feuds of the company, maybe ahead of Strowman Lesnar right now.
In terms of a beginning to end episode and the booking of one key guy in Kevin Owens, this was one of the best episodes of Kevin Owens' WWE career. He felt like a megastar beyond where he was before this show. He felt like the top heel on either brand after watching this.
It greatly elevated Kevin Owens in his career, and Vince just, I mean, it shows you that Vince probably has a great deal of expectation for Kevin Owens to give him all this. I think, this is very similar to the Randy Orton Triple H feud, or Randy Orton, Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon,
which started with Randy kicking Vince in the head and then feuding with Shane
and Stephanie coming out. I don't expect Owens to attack Steph, but I never say never. At least maybe he'll threaten her, but you can even see it potentially leading to a Triple H match down the line. I thought really good stuff. Headbutt, probably not necessary, but storyline wise and Owens' performance throughout the entire thing was awesome.
Yeah, and this was a pretty good episode of SmackDown. Yeah. I thought a really strong show, and more so than anything, it really elevated Kevin Owens to a whole higher level.
Well, this was really like a pay-per-view, really. I mean, they even had their own name for the show, a number of title matches that were built to, and a great angle throughout. Yeah.
So we now go to the Mae Young Classic, and it started immediately afterwards, which had to have been weird to go from such a heavy angle for this crowd into a totally different show, different context.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of the crowd stayed.
It seemed like a healthy amount, and we'll talk about it, but Renee Young introduces the show. She's on the stage. We get a feature and a more extended feature on the red carpet special, and then they showed various luminaries in the audience, including Beth Phoenix, Alundra Blaze, Dana Warrior, Mauro Ranallo back at SmackDown, and then we go to Jim Ross and Lita calling the match ringside, and we had a feature on the finalists. They showed Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler backstage getting ready. Ronda Rousey and Jessamyn Duke were there. However, Marina Shafir was not in attendance, nor was Sasha Banks for the WWE Four Horsewomen side of things. And I think everyone was watching, expecting a big angle on this show, given that Ronda Rousey was there, and you would think she would be there for more than just simply to be shown in the crowd. But no angle.
No angle. Yeah.
Do you think that was a mistake, or do you feel that there was enough time before Survivor Series that you didn't want to cloud the Kairi Sane win with the Rousey angle, which they may want to save for television, which I don't think is the worst idea.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't do it suggests maybe they're doing that, or maybe they haven't made their full decision about what Ronda's going to be doing at Summer Survivor Series yet.
They also showed Piper Niven, Mercedes Martinez, Candice LeRae, and Toni Storm in the audience, so that would certainly suggest those are women that will be coming in.
I think so. I think all of them are guaranteed. I thought the build-up for all this was wonderful.
The presentation, I thought, was fantastic on this show.
And it really led into the match. Like, it all built up towards the match. All these people here were here. Ronda Rousey, the cast of Glow, they were all here to see this one match, and it made that match so much more interesting by the time we got to it.
Do you feel that, obviously you couldn't do this frequently, but would this be an experiment you would want to try, that after you build up a challenger for enough times, that you could do a special 205 Live where it's one match, it's the title match, not to say you're going to have the cast of Glow coming, but make it feel important?
No.
I would try it.
It might, I mean, at this point, I don't think so. I don't think you can do a red carpet special.
I'm not saying the red carpet special, but I'm saying basic, building one 205 Live around one match.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can. I wouldn't expect even half or a quarter of the attention that this got, though. Like, if it was at the end of the tournament, and if it was kind of a prestigious, like at the end of the Cruiserweight Classic, I could kind of buy it. But here, you kind of had the female, empowerment angle to go along with it, and plus you had Ronda Rousey here, which kind of greatly elevates the, I guess, the stature of the entire thing. I feel like this in particular would be tough to elevate, but could a certain match benefit from build-up and hype? Yeah, of course.
So they even brought in Lillian Garcia as the special ring announcer for the match, introducing both women. It started off with Baszler going for submission attempts and Kairi going with pinfall attempts, and both escaping.
The crowd was naturally booing Shayna Baszler and cheering Kairi Sane.
Yeah, and this being in the same 205 Live time slot, this crowd was totally into this match.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, again, I think
Which throws out the argument of it being late and following the show. It's very much, they will be invested in something that deserves it.
exactly, you know, and all the hype that led up into this match gave the impression to the crowd that this was a very important match. It's a tough task to ask your typical 205 Live match, though, to try to...
Well, that's because that's how 205 Live has been presented.
Yeah, but you also have, like, Brian Kendrick versus Jack Gallagher, you know? Like, how are you going to present that with any level of prestige?
We had a head kick that knocked Sane to the floor, and then Baszler attacked the right elbow, which Lita immediately pointed out will affect Sane's finisher coming off the top rope. And Baszler then hit the two of a kind, which were two rolling gut-wrench suplexes getting a 2 count. They showed Charlotte, Becky, Summer Rae, and Asuka in the front row cheering on Kairi Sane.
The new 5 horsewomen,
I guess,
including Summer Rae.
It's interesting that throughout all of these teases that Sasha Banks hasn't been part of any of it.
I guess she's busy.
No.
I guess so, but if
It's Bailey's injured, and Sasha would have been working. Was she working on Tuesday?
Not on Tuesday.
Oh.
You're right. No. They were going overseas. So, yeah, it would have made it impossible to be there. So anyway, Sane fights back and attacks her ribs. And this was after Baszler had been dominating the match, bullying Sane, and Sane finally started to make a comeback. She jumps off the top and gets caught with the rear naked choke. Sane gets out, lands a spinning back fist. They battle on the top turnbuckle. Baszler goes for a Kimura. Sane gets out, headbutts Baszler off the turnbuckle, lands a double foot stomp to the bad ribs, and then Baszler grabs the bottom rope to break up the pin. And Rousey is just showing losing it.
They cut to Ronda's reaction for this near fall, and Ronda was just screaming, and it was
She's
so
better
awesome.
than Chuck Liddell, ringside.
I almost feel like they should have mic'd her for one of those kind of behind the scenes things, man. But Ronda's reaction, I thought, made so it was
She's
so
a super
good.
fan.
Yeah, because like normally Ronda is a legit, in my opinion, okay, an A-lister, A-list celebrity. Maybe not so much now, but still she's up there. She makes very few media appearances.
She's an influencer.
I would say so. But, like, typically when you have celebrities watch a professional wrestling match in the WWE, they're just kind of there like, oh, okay, nice. That's kind of, you know, this is fun, fake fighting. But here's, like, a legit celebrity reacting this big to a wrestling match that's going on. Granted, it's her, you know, one of her best friends. But still, I mean, these reaction shots were so awesome.
They were great. So Sane hits a running attack to the ribs into the corner, climbs to the top and lands the elbow to the ribs and pins Baszler in 11:54. God. Very good presentation. I don't know if this is the best match of the tournament. I think there were some in the tournament that were better. But in terms of just an overall presentation, I thought this was really well done.
I thought this match was just great. I thought it was almost perfect. I mean, yeah, you can, I guess, make an argument that technically it might not have been as good as some of the other matches. But think about the big picture, you know, like
It felt very important.
the idea of the build-up, the idea of the stakes that were involved, the environment that was surrounding it, and these two needed to go out there, and they were expected to have a great match, and they really delivered. I almost got I got almost a Griffin Bonner vibe in terms of like emotion and heart, and I thought they told just a great David Goliath story with a lot of stakes attached to it. The storytelling with the ribs and the elbow,
Very simple stuff. And,
yeah,
you know, I know some people have been negative about Jim Ross and Lita. I thought both were tremendous at the storytelling aspect of this match and picking up on the ribs and the elbow story. It was very simple, but having the announcers key in on that, it was great.
I've actually been impressed with Lita. Like she's exceeded my expectations.
Me too.
And she's not a natural broadcaster, I don't think by any means, but you can tell she really worked here. Like she really tried to do her research and really tried to get good at her job. And I certainly like JR a lot more in this tournament than, you know, let's say the Long Beach show, for instance. Man, like, you remember we saw Shayna Baszler face Ruby Riott a year ago in Cleveland for AIW? And, like, I remember that match. I remember where Shayna was at. And I remember there was, like, one specific spot in the match where, like, Riott was telling Baszler, almost like, you know, out of character, hey, hit me hard or hit me harder. And I almost got the sense that there were moments where Shane has been holding back because she's actually been afraid to actually hurt her opponents. But I feel like seeing her in this match, she's gotten over that, and she's gotten comfortable making her offense look like the way it should. She should be playing a monster. Her punches her kicks should look really hard. And I'm really glad they delivered that style in this type of match, because I feel like one of the things that's been missing from like the WWE women's matches is things tend to look a little bit softer, things tend to look a little bit sloppier, whereas, you know, you have a lot of like Asuka and you know, a lot of these Stardom girls come in where they're used to doing strong style or a version of it, and I think it'll greatly benefit WWE women's wrestling matches from this point forward.
Yeah, so they have a lot of momentum, I feel, coming off of this tournament. They've announced that the NXT Women's title will be decided at TakeOver, and Kairi Sane will be part of that match. So,
who's the opponent?
They haven't announced.
Who do you think it will be?
I don't know if it's going to be one woman, multiple people.
It's got to be a one-on-one match for a title match. I mean, I
Ember Moon, probably.
I can't see anybody but Ember Moon out of the NXT roster as a viable contender. I think it should be Ember because she came closest to beating Asuka, and I don't really see anybody else ready, you know? And who do you see winning?
I can see them putting it on Sane.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and she's got so much momentum, and we'll just kind of pick right up where Asuka left off as like being a really dominant force.
So, given my erratic sleeping schedule, I instantly went to sleep after this, and then woke up at like 3 a.m. and I was wide awake. I felt like you. And then shortly after, I watched 205 Live, which I did not take notes for, but it was actually a pretty decent episode of 205 Live. The key things on the show: Rich Swann beat TJP in their rubber match. A fine match. It was good. They went about 12 minutes. Drew Gulak had maybe his best segment he's ever had on 205 Live, where he comes out, he continues the PowerPoint presentation, and it was just, some of the lines were so funny. Like, we get on scripting sometimes. This was an example of great scripting of a segment. His third rule was no chants. Like, no more crowd chants. He's like, even Vince McMahon's theme song advocates this. No chants in hell. So he's going through these, and then one of them is no interruptions. And he gets interrupted by Breezango, who come out, and these three were awesome together. Like, it was so funny. The crowd's laughing, because we haven't seen Breezango in a live setting for quite a long time. They worked off of Drew Gulak really well, and Drew Gulak keeping a straight face for some of this stuff was amazing. Like, Fandango got right in his face, and then he'd put his nose against his as he, moved his face. It was just so weird. But Gulak was just stone face. It was a great segment. And then in the main event, we had Jack Gallagher turn heel, aligning himself with Brian Kendrick.
Cool.
By attacking Cedric. It was a pretty good 205 Live episode.
No Enzo?
No Enzo on the show at all. They did a feature on his burial from The Miz. So that was our build-up for the pay-per-view. Alright, it is now time to go to the Law message board, and Wei, why don't you kick things off for us?
Sorry.
Okay, I will. Jesse from the 6. I absolutely love Kairi Sane. I heard great things about her matches in Stardom, but hadn't seen her before. She's a great wrestler, very pretty. Her facials are incredibly expressive, her personality adorable, and her selling is Okada level. By the way, there was an Okada sighting on 205 Live.
What?
Because he said no more elaborate ring costumes.
Yeah.
So the photo he had was full-on Okada wearing a mask.
Ah!
Yes.
What, sorry.
It was just a random drawing of a wrestler, but it was like Okada's full outfit, but a mask on.
Oh, like a Photoshop?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Are they allowed to do that?
I guess they are. Earlier in the tournament, an opponent had her in an armbar, and Kairi was screaming in agony, and I actually bit the collar of my shirt to keep myself from yelling at my laptop. No, Kairi, don't tap. You can do this. And this, to me, a cynical, bitter, empty husk of a human being. And she comes out for each match dressed as a pirate. What the hell is that? But it doesn't matter. The crowd still cheers for her. In Kairi, Vince and his crew faced their biggest challenge yet, to screw up an amazing babyface whenever she gets on the main roster. Speaking of Vince, he bled great in the final segment. How did he do that? Well, he just bled. We give Vince McMahon a lot of grief for his bizarre obsession with or hatred for certain words and phrases, but we must give credit where credit is due. He did correctly use the word nauseated instead of the more common but traditionally incorrect nauseous.
Was that incorrect?
Oh, there you have it. It's nauseated.
I didn't know that. Alright, we go to Mark from Vaughn, who wants to know if you could only sign 3 women from the tournament that don't already have a contract at the Performance Center, who would they be? My picks are Toni Storm, Tessa Blanchard, and Santana Garrett.
I think that the 4 they showed in the crowd would all be ones I would want. Candice LeRae for sure. I think Piper Niven showed a lot in the tournament. Those would be 2 I would definitely...
Who have they signed so far that we know of? Jazzy?
I don't think she has been signed.
Oh, really?
I don't know for sure. She's somewhat denied that.
Oh, okay. Well,
She'd be another one, though.
I could see more than 3 of them getting the pickup.
It depends where they're going.
Probably the Performance Center to start. I mean, probably NXT to start.
Yeah, but you only have so many slots for these women.
Do you?
You have a 1-hour TV show.
Have you seen the number of faces they have at the Performance Center?
Okay, but if you're...
There's a million people there. They're hitting on deals left and right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let me wrap this up real quick. Okay. So, looks like we're gonna have to take a pausing type of break. So, we're gonna end prematurely. And we should be back soon. Go ahead and pick up time. Maybe we won't be back, but there's a chance. Always a chance. Catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. See you always later. Deuces!